Check, 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 check. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2, check, check, check. Am I just another? Hello. Hi. Just making sure. I was outside and my hair's a little little wild, folks, a little wild. Okay, so I hope you guys can hear me. I'm gonna bring the mic over this way so it's like right in my face. Okay, so let's talk about a product that I was looking for so that I could supplement and I could promote it on my podcast. And that is LifeWave and the LifeWave X39 patch. And so at 20 years old, we start off with 1 billion. Okay, so I would imagine that's at birth, we start off with 1 billion stem cells. And so by age 30, it declines by 60%. By age 75, it declines by 75%. By age 60, it's 90. And by 80, it's 95. So what am I getting at here? So I'm getting at that we all have stem cells, and when we age, and also because of what we eat and what's in our environment, we these stem cells, they don't die, they just go inactive. And so you got to turn them back on. You got to get the stemmies turned back on, folks. I've been on it 4 months and I have noticed a considerable difference, especially in my joints. I had issues with my joints. I have a shoulder replacement. Probably need one over here, but that's not going to happen. And I think it just kind of starts the whole process of this regeneration, right? And it's a good thing. You know, I think it's a good thing that you're seeing 80-year-olds that are like, I got my glasses on and I'm like trying to squint here and try to read this, and my glasses were on my head. Sorry. So yeah, the LifeWave X39 is the workhorse patch. This is the patch that you're going to put on a daily. And then there's other patches that are supplementary to that. So, you know, there's different patches. Like, for instance, I'm on the Alavita patch. That's for sleep. Carnosine, glutathione is a good detox patch. Carnosine is great for, and it improves your flexibility and balance. And so with stiff joints, because that's what I've been dealt with. That's the card I've been dealt with, I guess, in this lifetime, that my joints. So it improves my flexibility and strength and endurance. So I'm not going to say that I've had an easy time on the patch. I did have a little bit of issues when I started to add additional patches. And just having too many on. So that's the thing. You know, X39's for every day, and then you supplement with all these other patches. And for instance, the Alavita patch I wear Monday through Friday. in the evening. Of course, I put that on before I go to bed, and then the weekends, I don't wear it. I probably should do it over the weekends. I don't know. And then have 2 days during the week where I don't wear it. I'm going to have to rethink that. We'll see what happens. But I'm hoping you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Check, check. Mic 1, 2, check, check. Hello, hello. Yeah. So, anywho, so let's see here. So what happens is this patch increases the copper peptides in our body. And then that is what activates the STEMIs. Now, I told you the key, my little secret word is STEMIs from now on, going forward. I said that last podcast. So X39, and I believe everybody should be on this. That's my perspective, just from being on it. You got to make sure you're drinking lots of water with it. You need to make sure that you're adding salt. Anybody, you guys should be adding salt to your water. Helps remineralize you, because hence the joint problems, probably because of the minerals. We've lost so much minerals from the land, and so using the patch, you gotta add those salts back in, and that's another thing we've been lied to about, folks, is salt. Salt's bad for you. Well, the bad kind of salt is, yeah. If you're using, there's a certain brand that's in like the dark blue. Yeah, that's not a good salt. So, yeah. Anyhow, so there's tons of testimonies. I'm not diagnosing anyone, and with anything, or I'm not trying to be a doctor here. I do have a background in nursing and neuroscience, and I truly believe, like, just in my testimony, that I feel like my nervous system is starting to get evened out, which is so important, because this system, yeah, they love to go for the nervous system, the fear, and all that nonsense. Isn't it interesting what's going on lately? It's pretty interesting. I digress, but so yeah. And I am a brand partner. I don't know if I made that clear last podcast. I forget to say that. So I am a brand partner. I linked up with LifeWaves so that I could have a product to promote on my podcast. That's what you do in order to be monetized. I think anyone that would expect people to do this for free, like we're just expected. It's crazy to me. There are some people out there that have the mindset that these podcasts, like, you're being a grifter if you want to monetize your podcast, and I don't get that mindset, and frankly, I don't really care about that mindset, because it's like ridiculous. I mean, you've got people that have had television shows, that were syndicated. They're getting paid for it. So I think people should be paid for their time. And I think also, I don't think, it is my perspective that people should get paid for their time. People should get paid for their knowledge. People should get paid for their experience. You know, we live in this system that we have to have this in order to live. So, you know, to sit there and have these unrealistic expectations of folks and not think that they, you know, people have to make a living. So I just heard, that was something I heard last week, and I was just like, okay. I mean, the level of ridiculousness that's been going on is on another level. It really is. Lots of judgment, you know, it boggles my mind. And here's a newsflash. The whole judgment thing, that comes from your ego. My thing is, if people think that this is easy to sit here and talk into a camera and come up with, you know, the content to talk about on the podcast, like, it's not easy. So if you think it's easy, then I'd like to see you do it, because, I mean, by all means, do it. Like, there is no competition, right? We just get out here, and whoever gravitates. And whoever you're meant to get the message or the wisdom or whatever it is out to, that's all that matters at the end of the day. It's not about anything other than that. And it's, you know, it's not easy to show up, right? You got to show up, life goes on, whatever, but like, you got to show up. And I can attest to that, because I've tried to do the podcast thing for the last 5 years, and it just, with my schedule, it didn't jive. Right now, I'm not working right now in where I'm having to travel and all of that anymore. So it's fitting in a little bit better for my situation. So I started, okay, well, I thought, hey, we'll start it back up and get it going again. But also, I've evolved, right? So you're doing the work, you're doing the shadow work, you're in the present, mindfulness. The key to the awakening process, I think, is the more we can bring our brains back to, and our attention back to the present. I can't worry about the past. I can't, you know, obsess about the future or be fearful of the future. And just bringing yourself back to center. I don't know why I'm talking about this today, but I want to share this with you. That's really what it is. That's the key to the awakening. And the more that you can bring it back to what's going on now, what can I hear? Right? What can I hear? What my senses? What can I smell? Bringing it back to that. And then once you work on that and you get more mindful, and then, you know, you sit with God, and people think, oh, you got to be in this meditative pose. No, you don't. You can just sit down in a chair and just, you know, close your eyes and just focus on that thing, right? And not worry about anything. And whatever comes to your mind, sure, then question it. Like, let me see, like this week. This week was challenging week. You know, look, I'm awake, yeah, and this is it's a journey, right? And my mind started to wander off into, am I really doing the right thing here? Is this my purpose? You know, am I supposed to be doing this? I don't know. I just kind of questioned that. And I think, you know, a lot of people, we question our purpose. And I think if you're not, you know, dialing in and saying, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Then, you know, I don't know. So yeah, I digressed for a minute. So LifeWave, if you're interested in getting more information about it, if you're interested in testimonies, there's a link. I have this Hoobie link that you can go to. I have everything kind of sorted out, where it's testimonies and research and all of that that support the use of this patch. And you can always contact me on direct message on Facebook or through Instagram. My Instagram is Harness the Shift with J, is one of those, or at Rooted Light Wellness is another. Facebook, J Johnson Rooted Drops. And then we have the YouTube, Harness the Shift podcast. And if you need to get a hold of me, you can just leave a message or whatnot. And then also my email, rootedlightwellness@yahoo.com, if you need to get a hold of me. And look, we can set up a one-on-one where we can just do a consultation, no cost. That I'm not going to charge anything for. I mean, that would be silly, but we could sit and talk and find out really what it is that you want to do. I am finding that not everyone understands that I am a brand partner, and that I do receive commission from it. And you can join too, and you would receive commission, bonuses, however you want to say it. Like you get a little slice of the pie, if you will. There's people that are building businesses just based on LifeWave, and so if you're interested in that, let me know. But yeah, you can contact me. My information's in my Hoobie link, and I'll make sure that I put that in the description of the podcast after it's over. So let's talk. So this podcast is going to be part 2. I posted a podcast last week where we were talking about, hold on a sec, I gotta make sure I got my notes here. And we were talking about the gateway process. This is a CIA declassification that the government declassified in 2001, I believe it was. Or was it 2001? I thought it was. Hold on. I just want to make sure I didn't write that in my notes, and I don't want to misspeak. Yeah. So the analysis and assessment of the gateway process, it was done by Lieutenant McDonald, and this was done in 1983 by the U.S. Army. He was a psychiatrist, I believe, or a psychologist, one of the two. And then it was declassified. It was declassified under the Freedom of Information Act in 2003. So I was two years off. And so it became widely available in 2017 after gaining attention from independent researchers and broader consciousness and alternative media communities. So 2017. So it's been out there for like 20 some odd years, and we never heard anything about it. Not a peep. Even though it was declassified, I'm sure there were certain people that knew stuff about it, but not like they know now. 2017, folks. So that's interesting. And so then it went viral on TikTok when creators started doing TikTok videos and whatnot. It kind of went viral in 2020. And it's kind of fallen off a little bit, but I came across it in 2020, and a friend of mine sent it to me, and I just, it's a lot in that. It's power packed, and you know, it's hard to understand that D class if you've not not gone through it yourself. And so now, oh, I'd say over the last year, I have literally, like, it's like, okay, now this makes perfect sense. And it's just very interesting how the how the story goes and how it progresses. So I wanted to share that with you. And there's a ton. Well, I shouldn't say a ton. There's really not a ton, but there are some folks that talk about it on YouTube. So you can just do a search on YouTube if you wanted to really dig into it. I probably will dig into it. I know how to better articulate it for a podcast. Like, I have the knowledge, I just need to like articulate it. So I don't know. Maybe it might be something that I will do to really just go in depth about it, to talk about it. I think that might be advantageous, because we're going there, folks. We're seeing this, mass awakening, and I don't know, it's very interesting. You have some folks that'll say, hey, if you're not working on it, you're not gonna, you're not gonna be ready, and all that. And I'm like, everybody's on their journey, right? There's no wrong or right answer. And speaking from somebody who's on their ninth life, we're going to get reincarnated again. You just keep coming back, doing this whole earth school. And this life is pretty cool that I've kind of broke free from everything. So I figure that in my previous life, I probably woke up, and that's why maybe this lifetime it was a little bit easier to ease into that. I don't know. We're going to get into the past lives because that's something that has just come to me as a gift. And so I'm just trying to figure it out. And it's pretty wild. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I think having information about your past lives can get you on track to, like, okay, if you're committed, right? If you've surrendered to this process and you want to start doing the things that you need to do in order to progress through your soul's evolution, and you have that information about past lives, it helps, because then you can kind of, okay, well, what do I need to work on in this life? Like, what is the onion that I need to peel back from a psyche level, right? From experiences and learning that, and learning from past lives that what you didn't learn back then, and doing that right now. And I think a lot of folks that are going through this would understand that when you're going through this, it's like you have these episodes where you're like, something comes up and you have no idea where it's coming from. Like, I have no idea why I'm crying, whatever it may be. And this is why people think they're losing their minds, because stuff is surfacing, right? Where our DNA is being activated, and the truth is being revealed. And right now, we should be questioning anything, any and all things. We should be questioning our religious programming, our political programming, all of it, because yeah, we've been programmed. I think about that. I'm just like, what? Ugh. It just truly, what our government has done is literally crimes against humanity. I can't even say it enough. So we're going to talk about this is Gateway and Psychological Warfare Part 2. The color revolutions, weaponized research, and war on consciousness. So the last episode we were talking about the Gateway process. I just went into that talking about this was a classified military document that revealed human consciousness. And so all you folks out there that are in that religious programming, this pretty much proves exactly what the people that have been gaslit for years and years and years, that, oh, that's that spirituality, oh, I'm not spiritual, that spirituality stuff, that's not God. Well, it is. And it's so interesting because when your consciousness is finely tuned, right, when it's properly in tune with the divine, you can transcend time, space, and physical body. This is what this was about. This was a binaural beats where you have one hertz in one ear and another hertz in the other ear, and you have this hemisync of both hemispheres of the brain. And you literally are in this kind of bliss, right? Where you can be an observer of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You can remote view. You can time travel, and it's all in the astral space. You know, we're in this world, and it's a dense world. That's why, because we can feel our bodies. We're not floating. There's a density here, and you know, you incarnate into a body to experience you know, this world. So instead of helping humanity evolve, these discoveries were absorbed into the black budget programs, right? They're a part of a deeper structure beneath the visible military industrial complex. And they studied our soul, not to set us free, but to weaponize it, to control us, to keep us in this loop, being reincarnated and reincarnated and reincarnated, because it's an existential threat. This is what, you know, presidents like John F. Kennedy, and look, I know what other people have to say about all that, and, you know, whatever. Whatever. So last podcast, we talked about this connection to MK Ultra and Operation Mockingbird and decades of psychological operations that have been going on against the American people, where the media has been weaponized. This is one of the things that the infiltrator is being accused of. And well, isn't that interesting? We're in divine timing with that. So, they've done this psychological operation so that they could keep us fragmented and fearful and disconnected from God. They called it in that document the absolute, that God is the absolute. And this is what we know of, right? That God is the absolute and pure, defined, and really just this unfiltered consciousness. And this is why they have all these programmings, the religious programming. It's like, it makes so much sense to me that they would use religious programming to keep people separated. If folks we're programmed to feel this separation from God, that I've got to consistently look from something outside of myself. Then we're always looking outside of ourselves, right? No wonder why we have to keep up with the Joneses and what we look like, and everything is just, external. It's of the, you're in the world, and you're in the world, and you're living for the things of the world. And it just makes so much sense that if I was someone evil, that's exactly what I would do in order to keep people from God. So it makes so much sense to me that they would do that. Is the scripture real? Absolutely. Was Jesus real? Yes, absolutely. But I think we've been lied to about all of it in order to be manipulated in this fear-based, programming. Because look, if you're fearful, that is a low vibration. It affects your health. It affects your nervous system. And we're seeing it. People's nervous systems are literally jacked right now, literally. And it just makes it, for me, it's like, it makes so much sense. And it's like, once you realize that there is no separation, I can go to God right now. If I want to meditate right now, I could go right now and just connect. So, yeah. So the question now, folks, is, what did they do with that knowledge? They took all that knowledge about the gateway process, all that knowledge that's in that book. They removed page 25 because that's where it talks about the holographic, that we live in a holographic simulation. And it is just, I don't know, when I talk about this, I get so because people can do whatever they want to do physically, right? Like, people can harm you physically, right? But when they go after your mental, that's like another level of warfare. And it pisses me off. It really makes me mad, because it's so important right now to really just keep your mind tight. And if you can't keep your mind tight, then you got to shut it all off, and you just got to go sit with God and ask God to help you get that situated, because the level of psychological warfare that's going on right now, this is why we have people that believe this, believe that, like, we have a lot of people that are not on the same page collectively, which is fine. I think that's cool from a creativity standpoint. But when we're talking about not being on the same page of what's going on in the world, and all of that, and just everything they've weaponized, I don't know. I believe things are taking a turn, which is great. So, which one is that? Good old 17. So yeah. So they weaponized this research. And it's the military-industrial complex. So who's part of that military-industrial complex? Military, like, secret programs, right? That, no, not the normal military, the one that I served in, that I served the people in. That's not considered the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is associated with the Pentagon, and it's all deep state bullshit. It's big pharma, and how they weaponized things, and how they were on board with what happened in 20, and then moving until 21 and the whole fear, and look what fear did. And they jumped on it. They jumped on that opportunity to really weaponize that. And it's interesting. You're looking back at things that happened and you're like, man, it's truly remarkable that we're at where we're at right now. It really is, because it could have been very, very bad. So these discoveries in this gateway process, they were shelved. I mean, look, from 83 until 2003, that's like 30 years until it was declassified. And then it kind of sat out there for another 20 years, just out there where some people knew about it. And then 2017. Isn't that an interesting correlation? My green friends wore green today because green is the color of abundance. And yeah, which is a good thing, I think, for a lot of people. So these discoveries, they were shelved, they were absorbed, they were inverted, and they were used against us. They used that information in there. And then obviously you have all of these outliers that figured it out on their own. Because one thing is for certain, when you surrender to the spirit and you just trust, you trust the spirit. Like, when I surrendered, everything has happened since then, like my move to Idaho, my move here to outside of Portland. I live in Happy Valley, Oregon. Like, all of this is divine. There were lessons that needed to be learned. There were people that I needed to meet that are going to be part of whatever it is that I'm doing going forward. And so it's just interesting. I just sit back and it's like, wow. It's certainly been an interesting 5 years for sure. So these papers, right? This gateway process, it wasn't these theoretical papers, right? It was actual, like, this is what we figured out. There are diagrams in this that he drew, McConnell, and it's just crazy. There's blue. I'm looking at my notes, so I'm gonna be looking at the notes and trying to talk to you guys at the same time. Basically, it's a blueprint. It is a blueprint, and it's a blueprint to control frequency. It's a blueprint. It is a blueprint for humanity to break free from this matrix. And the matrix is not, it's a controlled system, right? Like it's like Matrix the movie. Like, if you haven't watched the Matrix the movie, watch it. And if you haven't watched it in a minute, watch it again, because that's what we're living in. It's like a web of just bullshit. Tons of bullshit. And I had an experience. I haven't shared this. I had an experience. I was in California on business. A friend had lined me up with someone who was going to come on the podcast, and we were going to talk about the whole sovereign thing and the whole how they've weaponized have weaponized our existence by the use of this birth certificate, right? They had our parents sign us away to this birth certificate, and then they bonded the birth certificate, and then they insured it. And so, like, we're basically traded, right? It's all about debt slavery. And so I wanted to have him on the podcast. So I'm up in Big Bear, and I'm just there for the weekend. And I was going to have this podcast. So he shows up and we get to talking. And it was almost like he was my Morpheus. I shit you not. It was a crazy experience because some of the things that he was talking about, like the weaponization of grammar, and like by the time that we got done talking, it was like we didn't even do the podcast because we were just talking. And I literally, my mind, it was like I was in information overload. And I just could not deal with it. So I was just like, it was kind of like my mind after he left, because he had to go. We didn't get on the podcast, and my computer, I ended up getting water in. The whole motherboard was fried. So I only had my pod track to record. And we just got into this deep conversation. And I don't know, sometimes it's very strange, that conversation. I look back at that and I'm like, wow. I mean, just the manipulation of like frequency and how the grammar, how they've manipulated that against us, and how our name is capitalized, right? Like that's associated with the corporation, and all of that. The straw man has to be broken in order for you to be sovereign, right? In the system, you're sovereign, obviously, because of God. It's not man that makes you sovereign, but like all of these things. And I'm like, what? And I literally, when he left, it was like almost like I just totally like crashed, and I passed out on the couch. And then I came to, and I was like, oh my God, what that just happened? It was like my mind couldn't take all of that information. There were some other things that we were talking about, but I look back at that and I'm like, you know what? That was my Morpheus moment, where it was like this massive red pill, like about everything. And that's when everything kind of just came to, everything came into place, right? And I literally, I'm telling you, it took months for me to really just, what is going on? What is going on? And then, so that was in September, and I think that was like, I want to say mid-September, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look. And then all that happened with the contract. And by the way, yeah, I talked to somebody. I'm all over the place. So I talked to the guy, one of the guys that I was on the contract with, and they were like, yeah, they went and they looked at all of the data and did not find not one mistake. So they literally dragged your name through the mud, slander, defamation of character. And they just get away with this shit in corporate America. They can just ruin your fucking career, or try to ruin your career, say these terrible things about you, and allude that you were fraudulent, and they didn't find not one mistake. It was bonkers. It was cool though to talk to him, and I'm like, of course, like I'm not, why would I be fraudulent? Like, and then on top of it, they're making a big deal about it. It was like the study coordinator had to let me see the EMR information in the first place. So I'm like, how can I be fraudulent? Like, I gotta do over the shoulder with her. So obviously, I don't know. It was crazy. Anyway, I digressed. Again, so much going on, guys. So back to this. It's the blueprint for controlling frequency and manipulating thought and interrupting the connection between us and the spirit, the Holy Spirit. They understood the power of binaural beats to entrain the brain. The ability of focused attention to collapse time and space in this gateway process, right? The truth that human intention could influence matter. It's bonkers. And they said, how do we stop this from happening at scale? So they built this inverse. And they used devices that scramble the energy fields, and entertainment that fragments the consciousness, our education, our educational systems to disembody the soul from its knowing. Because here's the thing, I'm going through this right now. I talked to you earlier about how I've had 9 lives. This is my 9th life. How did I remember that? Because during my growth process, I start to get these, right? Where it's now I'm remembering this. And this is what it is, because they've basically disembodied us from our soul. No, not disembodied, disembodied the soul from our knowing, because we have knowing. The wisdom is in our bones, right? So let me throw this at you. This whole concept about dry bones, right? When we become strong in the spirit, rich in the spirit, when we're on our path, getting on our path to God and on our healing journey, I believe that the DNA, where's our DNA? It's in our bones. It's in our bone marrow. And so once we start to become strong in the spirit, dry bones come alive, right? You remember all of the wisdom that you've had in these previous lives. And so do I believe, is my perspective, that we've had previous lives? Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe in reincarnation. 100%. I've been here before. That's what the whole deja vu throughout my life. I've been here before, or I've been in this similar situation where I'm getting this deja vu, like this remembrance of being somewhere before. It's so crazy. And so they do this with intention so that they can keep us from our knowing. There's so much going on, like within, but there's also, our earth is changing. The earth is changing. Now, do I believe that some of what's occurring is being manipulated by the deep state? Absolutely. But also, I believe that it's being counterbalanced. I believe that there's benevolent activity helping with that. If you're in the religious programming, you might be like, okay, the world's ending and we're all going to die. I don't believe that. It's not my perspective at all. Because I know that's been weaponized for us to believe that what's going on is end times. It is end times, but the whole concept of end times, this apocalyptic thing where the world's going to end, it's like, no, it's not. And we're seeing this like with people that are really, really awakening And it's crazy. They also, pharma, I worked in pharma for 23 years. And so big pharma, they play a role on blocking the body's natural healing mechanisms. Lou, I'm on. Archie's like bringing his ball over here. He wants to play. You want to say hi? You want to come here? Come here. Come over here. I'll pick it up. So you got big pharma. The military industrial complex is hitting us from every aspect, right? So it's kind of like, wow. We've been in survival mode big time. I think big time in the last 5 years, because many of us are understanding, like going within, right? We're finding this out, where there is no separation from God. And I don't just sit with God I don't sit with God every Sunday. I sit with him every day. God, the Holy Spirit, every day. The decisions that I make are not for me. They're from God. You just know. There's an inner knowing. I don't know how to explain it. Like, maybe some people understand what I'm saying, and some folks aren't. And I guess maybe if the folks that aren't probably shouldn't be watching the podcast. I don't know. I'm just I'm not caught up in that religious programming. I see it for exactly what it is, and it's a mechanism to control. They've manipulated it. They've taken books out of the Bible to deceive. And when you start to look back at like all of the ancient teachings, you're like, what? It's amazing. Oh my God, we're already at 50 minutes. So I just want to get through this. So it was intentional. Everything they do is intentional. So they've weaponized tactics like frequency manipulation, right? The EMFs, 5G, Wi-Fi, media tones, right? The tones that come out of the programming device. Not just communicate. They're not just communication tools. These are disruptors of the human energy field. And I want to ask, do me a favor. If you are, when you watch this, if you could just make a comment in the comment section. If you've experienced a lot of bloating, like, because over the last 6 months, I just feel like I have this bloating, and I don't know where it's coming from. So I'm wondering if it has something to do with this frequency manipulation. That, from what I understand, is being like counterbalanced, right? Because if it wasn't, we would be, fried, I guess. A lot of folks in the are saying that it's being counterbalanced. So I would hope so that it is. But, and here's the thing, if it has to be counterbalanced, then we're still in an active war. It just doesn't look like the war that we're used to, right? Seeing on the TV, or if you've served being over there, that kinetic kind of war. So trauma programming, right? So creating social chaos. We're seeing a lot of this to keep the collective nervous system in fight or flight, making consciousness expansion nearly impossible. So as you become more conscious of what's going on with humanity, and you start to embody these, it's kind of like a funnel. At the bottom of it is fear, vibrational, right? So love is obviously going to be up here. And you can even evidence that with the resonation of sound within your body. So if you say the word love, love comes from the heart, right? So say the word love, love, it resonates here in the heart center. If you say hate, it comes from your solar plexus. Hate, your gut. And so when you say like, what's another one? Abundance, abundance. It comes up here, right? It's above the heart. So there's certain words that, yeah, they've weaponized, and there's certain emotions that they've weaponized to keep us in. And so it's this trauma programming, right? Back and forth with the whole fight or flight, keeping you in survival. You have medical suppression because you have fluoride, which is calcifying your pineal gland, which is it's a real gland, folks. And this is the center of your spiritual, it's your spiritual center. This is your connection to the divine. And they're using fluoride to calcify it. Now, why would they do that? And then you have RFK, who's talking about decalcifying the pineal gland. Like, they're telling you. Psychiatric drugs. You know, I've been on some antidepressants and whatever in my life, you know, going through the things that I've gone through in my life. You know, the deaths that I've had, the trauma stuff from previous life. Obviously, I'm like learning that now. So that's why it would be good to know your past lives so that you could heal those certain things, right? Because we don't need to take drugs. The more that we can connect to the divine, the more we heal ourselves, right? And being in observation of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Those thoughts are going to come in because that's the enemy coming in, right? Like that's like falsehood coming in. So you just have to be aware that, you know, well, you're not good enough. Yes, I am. You have to be able to say, yes, I am. When that thought comes in, we all get that thought, imposter syndrome. I don't know what I'm doing. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You do know what you're doing. Yes, you do. They're not going to like you. Well, really, does that matter? You know, we're programmed that everybody has to like you. No, they don't. And that's cool. Not everybody's going to vibe with me, just like I don't vibe with everybody. And, you know, and that's okay. Like, but it's like, now it's like, oh, you can't have a different perspective. And it's like, look, I'm a black sheep. Get that straight. I don't have to follow anybody. I've always asked questions, and I'm going to continue to ask questions. And I'm not shrinking. It ain't happening. So the narrative engineering, Mockingbird media, which we see going on. But I will say that there's a change. Could it be 17? Maybe. Mockingbird media seeded the media with CIA operatives. So these are CIA, and we saw that with COVID, right? They all were saying the same thing, all of them. The channel in Cleveland was saying the same thing that LA was saying. The channel in Miami was saying the same thing in New York. Whatever was being said up here in Portland was being said down in LA or in Phoenix. All of them. CIA operatives to infiltrate newsrooms and to script the public's perception of what was going on. And so these psyops, right? That was a psyop. COVID was a psyop. And look what resulted from that psyop, right? Now, I don't want to get into all of that, but I've personally have known folks that are not with us anymore. So, yeah, there's that. Again, that's what they do. They weaponize fear. And so, and it's still happening today. They just rebrand it and rebrand it. You know, this whole thing with the Epstein. I think the whole thing with the Epstein, it's not a list, folks. And the list is available, by the way. The list is out there. It is available. It's part of the court document. It's there. Like, it's you, all you got to do is seek and you shall find, and it's there. It's not a list. It's a file on everything. It's the videos, it's the surveillance, it's bank records, it's all of it. They have it all. When DJT said, I have it all, he has it all. So what's the holdup? So here we go. I think what the holdup is with that is consciousness. Is humanity ready for this information? So now we've got the Streisand effect happening where they're like, want it. We want it, because they're bound and determined that he's on it, which he's not. He's in the black book, which it's right there. There's a black book. There's a flight log. He's not on the flight log to the island. He's on, I believe, one flight to New Jersey, I think it was. But that's it. And if he was on it, don't you think that would have came out a long time ago? Yeah, I believe so. And well, we just saw the court say, no, we're not going to release that. Well, why? Because 95% of DC's on it. It's a crime syndicate. Some of the most heinous things. And so, yeah. We talked about the color revolution last time. I mentioned it. And at first glance, it sounds like this grassroots thing, right? And it's not. It's not grassroots activism. It's the people rise up, they demand justice, they push for reform. But if you look closer at it, you'll see the fingerprints of the CIA all over it, Mossad all over it, the think tanks, the NGOs. It's all over it. So it's not, I mean, sure, there's people getting caught up in it that get sucked into it because they're being programmed, but it's all being orchestrated by these different entities, right? And when I was in Germany, when I was stationed at Ramstein Air Base, the same thing was happening in Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Serbia, and all of those areas over there during the whole thing with Milosevic. So when I saw it going on, I'm like, this looks so familiar. And then I did a little, how you get on your keyboard, you're like, researching. And so these color revolutions, they're non-kinetic warfare. That's what they are. They're psyops, and they're non-kinetic warfare. And so these have been used time and time again through basically they identify real social grievances, and they amplify this through the NGO media, and they fund the activists, and they embed these provocateurs, and they destabilize the public confidence in leadership. And it orchestrates this regime change under the guise of freedom. So we saw this going on in the summer of love of 20, and now we're seeing it again. We didn't really see too much of it during the little pause. Maybe a little bit here and there, but we're seeing it massively being dialed up. And there's a reason for it. So they're kind of like this it's kind of like a coup, right? We can get out here and destabilize this, but excuse me, and engineer this chaos. They're breaking down national identity, and they want to rewrite history in real time, and they want to use the power of the narratives that they use and infiltrate protests and reframe events and gaslight the population. And so it's like this asymmetrical warfare. It's psychological warfare. It's fifth generational warfare. It is definitely an information war that we're seeing. And so when you look at this, right, from a personal reflection and from a pattern recognition standpoint, it's been done before. It's been done in the Balkans. It's been done in the Bolsheviks. It's these protests are hijacked by the receipts are there. They're being hijacked by paid provocateurs, and they have Archie go. They pay these people to come out here and wreak havoc. It's ridiculous. And then you got people who are just out there like, yeah, we're just, we're out here doing this. And I would say the only legitimate protest that's happened in the last 5 years is probably, although there were provocateurs there too, but most people were there for a reason. Okay, and that was because they truly believed that they had stolen the election. So, January 6th. And, that's another conversation for another day, my God. But back to the former Yugoslavia. That wasn't just a civil war. It was an engineered fragmentation of that whole area. Neighbor against neighbor, exactly what we're seeing, what we've been seeing back in 20. Not so much now because I think people are waking up. I mean, we are arguing with folks. I do see this, like people are still, you're arguing with folks that are, in the religious programming. I see people arguing. I see people arguing in the political programming. Those that have the eyes to see are being gaslit. That's still going on. Yes, it is still going on, because war does not end in 2 days. And when you're talking about bringing down a 6,000-year-old cabal that's been in control of this earthly realm, yeah, it's going to take some time. We've been programmed that things happen things happen overnight. This is a divine plan, and to liberate humanity. So of course it's going to take some time. And you're not going to know. We're not going to know what's going on. Absolutely. No, we can kind of make a guess of what's going on by observing from what's going on. But I don't think anybody knows, right? I think the history books it'll be interesting, the books that will come from this. But so by 2020, the blueprint was unmistakable, right? You saw all of these. I said this about these protesters and this narrative dissent was shut down overnight. Like they didn't want anyone to be dissenting. And, like if you survived what happened in 21, and didn't fall for all of that. Like, that was intense. And I'm a pattern recognition kind of gal, and I'm also critical thinker. And being in research for 23 years, it just didn't make sense to me. It just did not make sense to me. And how corporations were jumping on it, it made zero sense to me, because I'm like, this is not how research goes. Like, this is not the way it's done. And well, they had it ready. They were going to make back their money from 2008 when they did the initial research on RNA technology. That's the truth. I think that's the truth. That they wanted to recoup that money, number one, and take out people. You got psychopaths running this earthly realm, folks. Literal psychopaths. I digress. So the programmed and the provocateurs. So let's break this down. You have programmed people, well-meaning but deeply conditioned, right? Deeply conditioned. They repeat the headlines. There's no critical thinking there. They just repeat. Whatever's going on the mainstream media, that's what they repeat, whatever the narrative is, right? We see this all the time with, I support Ukraine, right? You don't even know what's going on over there. Like, hello, like the biolabs and all of this, come on. They defend the system. They will literally defend this. This is why they're pissed off, because all of the fraud is being exposed. They will mock anything outside of the overtone window, right? If it doesn't look like that program, they're going to know that's, you're nuts. So this is why people that can have the eyes to see that there's something covert going on. Oh, you're stupid. Oh, you're an idiot. Oh, you're a Q-tard. Oh, you're a libtard. Oh, you're this, you're that. Right? It's this back and forth, and it just keeps the name calling and the gaslighting and all of this, because no one wants to stop for a minute and use the very internet that they use to connect to their social media and their programming device, and jump down some rabbit holes and really learn some discernment. Not everything out here is the truth. You just have to you just kind of have to swim through it and take it back to God and say, is this really true? I'll tell you one thing. The whole thing about the children, why this is happening in the first place, right? That rabbit hole took me about 2 years to get down. I'm not even kidding. For me to even stomach it. And I don't know why. I mean, maybe because it's just so, like, just psychotic. Like, it's psychotic. It's demonic. It's dark. So dark. Yeah, it took me a long time to get down that rabbit hole. And God bless the folks out here that are talking about it and really bringing awareness to it, because for whatever reason, I think everybody's there's so much going on. I think I say that every 10 minutes, there's so much going on that, people pick their little niche. And what you doing, Archie? You taking a nap? My dog's over here sitting on the other chair. No, stay over there. The people that are programmed, this is one thing I want for people to understand. I would like for people to understand. The people that are really heavily programmed, they're not evil. They're really not. They're entrained. I think some of these people are very good. They're very kind-hearted people. Probably, like, their authentic nature is probably they're very kind people, but they're just so entrained in it. Now, you do have some people that are really just off the chain on both sides, like telling people to, go off themselves, or telling people what I don't sign off on that. I think that is just beyond. It's bottom of the barrel of humanity. Like, if it is bottom of the barrel to be wishing death upon another human because of, whatever. Like, I just like at what point do you say, okay, what am I doing? Like, at what point, what are these folks? I mean, do they say to themselves, what are you doing? Like, it just tells me that they're not in the present. They're caught up in the programming, and they're entrained on that topic. They're entrained on it. So you have the provocateurs. They cause deliberate chaos. They're chaos agents. They infiltrate these movements to sow division and to discredit the real tellers. And so now I want to point this out. You're seeing that, if you're paying attention, you're seeing a lot of that happening on Facebook, where people they're coming out of the woodwork, right? Against, where you thought, oh, I thought they were for. No. They're coming out, they're exposing themselves. They don't know they're exposing themselves, but they are. And it's fucking awesome. It's so awesome. Pardon my French. But both of these groups, they play a central role in upholding the machine. And so the programmed are the NPCs, and they're in a spiritual simulation that they don't know they're in. Spiritual on the dark. They're out for the dark. They don't even realize it. That's what's so it's absolutely stunning to sit back and just observe this. The provocateurs, they are boss level minions, okay? And in this psychological warfare. And so the goal of both is to drain your energy. It's to drain your energy. It's to distract you from your mission. And your mission is to evolve your soul. Your mission is to connect with the divine. Because I guarantee you do the work and you understand, you have no fear. Like, I don't even fear anything anymore. Like, I used to be like, oh my God, this is happening and that's happening. And then once I just started on my journey, I just got to the point where I'm like, I'm not fearful, because I know I have an inner knowing. And they want to discredit your truth. But here's the thing. Your truth is your truth, right? And we all have to go through this, where we all have to cultivate our spiritual discernment. In the beginning, man, I was throwing everything out. Oh, this, let me throw that out. Let me, not really sitting with it. Like, is this true? I don't know. It's crazy. So here comes the next part of this. And I'm going to wrap it up here soon, because I've got like a little bit left. And I'm going to dial it in here. But so how do we respond to this? With compassion, not attachment. You may want to wake people up, but here's the thing. They're not going to wake up. Some of these folks are not going to wake up. They're so entrained that they just are not going to wake up. And we know these folks by their eyes are glazed over. Their breathing is shallow, and it gets shallow. Like, even when you're around someone that that mindset, their breathing is shallow. They dismiss you with a laugh or an insult, right? Because they are bound and determined to stay on that program. And so it doesn't matter what you do. You just you hit that cognitive dissonance, and you just got to shut up, because you're not doing anything for anyone. You're not doing anything for the energy. You're just not. It's cognitive dissonance. The truth threatens their safety. Their reality, their worldview is not, it's this, right? It's tunnel vision, right? It's not expansive, where it's like, I see what's going on with humanity, right? It's this tunnel vision, and they're dead set on that programming. So it's not personal, and we can't take it personal. All you can do is drop the seed, step back, and let the spirit cultivate it. Walk on and go drop the seed somewhere else. That's all you can do. You got to disengage with grace. You really have to. Because to keep it moving, it's like, I give myself 2 comments, right? Like if somebody says something and I say something else, and then they say something and then they're not getting it, I'm done. We talked a little bit about LifeWave in the beginning, so I'm not going to talk about that again, but hi. What are you doing, Bubba? So, what's the end game? The end game. All of this, Mockingbird, MK Ultra, the color revolutions, the media manipulation, has one singular goal, and that is to disconnect you from source, from God. Disconnect you. That's what they want to do. So, because once you remember who you are, you're dangerous to the system. Think of Neo in the Matrix. Because once you remember, that the gateway files, those were called in its absolute, right? They called it the absolute. Jesus called it the kingdom within. You might call it God, Spirit, divine intelligence, the Holy Spirit, whatever it is. It's your birthright. And so the system fears the moment when enough of us return to that truth. When enough of us have returned to the truth that all of this system is bullshit, their matrix collapses. So, will the matrix completely collapse? I don't know. It's a good question. Because I look at this kind of from a psychological standpoint, and I'm like, I think maybe eventually it will, because we'll evolve, and people are starting to evolve, and the younger crowd's starting to evolve, and as the middle crowd like myself, we start to wake up to all the nonsense about the medical and all of that. We start to change what's going on. We'll live longer. And so obviously I think, will it completely collapse? No. But here's the thing. We are those that are awake, those that go. I got to find out who God is. I got to know the truth, that are obsessed with knowing the truth about really, who am I? What's my purpose? Where did I come from? All of these things. That's when the lies that the system creates lose their power. And the system will lose its grip on a lot of folks, and the chains will dissolve. And for those, that are following the mission, you can see that clearly happening. And you can also see like the strategy from the others, where it's like, oh, no, 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 or the people that are in the fear vibe, like, oh no, we're all gonna die, and all this. I don't see it as much. I think people have hope, right? They have faith that everything is working out in divine timing, and it's just kind of keeping your wits about you while it's all happening, right? And they studied us. That's what the gateway was all about. They studied us and they used that information against us. And so now that's obviously the blueprint. So if we can mimic that, then we can collapse. Not collapse, we can not necessarily collapse the matrix. We can see it for what it is and operate outside of it. And those that want to still be tied to it, within it, they'll be tied to it. I don't think, I think in the beginning of this, I thought, okay, we gotta wake people up, just like everybody else, right? On your journey, gotta wake people up. And it's like, no, I'm only responsible for waking myself up and speaking the truth. That's it. You're not tasked to wake anyone up. You're just tasked to share the truth. That's it. And so plant those seeds, share your truth, share the truth that you've discerned from, and make sure you're giving your references, because you do see that now too. People are, oh, I got to see your references. It's like, go kick rocks, jump down a rabbit hole. Like, I'm not going to spoon feed you, okay? Like, you got to do it. The whole point of doing it is so that you open up your neural network, create new neural pathways, all of these things. Like, this is so important for you to do that, where you're learning critical thinking and fine-tuning your discernment and sitting on something, patience, right? Sitting on some, I've said on this gateway process for this was handed to me 5 years ago, and I'm just now starting to talk about it, because not everything needs to be talked about right now. And sometimes it takes time to really peel it back and understand what it is. So thank you for listening. We've kind of gone over, it's an hour and a half. I did not want to go that long, but evidently I had a lot to say. And so thank you so much for listening, and stay rooted and stay sovereign and stay rewired for the return, because things are shifting, and they're shifting very quickly. So next episode, we're going to dive into the whole Epstein thing. So stay tuned, and probably do that next week. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you have a fabulous weekend. Take care.